Hey, everybody. Uh, Welcome to the Jesse Lee Falls podcast, where we talk about the micro music business and other creative endeavors. Uh, I had something, that topic that sprung up this morning between me and my roommate. We were watching a clip of Joe Rogan this morning, and he was interviewing Bradley Cooper, and they were talking about the importance of friends and um, like who basically, like, who out there doesn't want to have friends. And I actually had to pause the episode, and I went on a bit of a rant to my roommate, and that gave me an idea that I should go ahead and just record this, because I think it'll actually help a lot of you guys out there that are maybe frustrated. I usually try to reiterate why I started this podcast in the first place. I think I think my intention is to help other frustrated artists and musicians who feel like they put a lot of work into what they do, but it's kind of like running in quicksand. You just never feel like you're getting anywhere. So it can be very discouraging and then disenfranchising, um, de-incentivizing, all kinds of fun, all kinds of fun stuff. So it kind of bothered me. There was something about the concept that, well, like, who doesn't want friends? And I went into a bit of a tirade about this, and I thought I should share the thoughts because I want you guys to understand that my intention isn't to be cruel. Um, I think I think the reason why I wanted to push back on this a little bit is I think we get to a certain age, and we're not looking for friends. I think friends is too shallow of a term. It's too vague. It's too broad. And I tend to associate the word friend in a negative way these days. I'm 47. So just through all the jaded feelings of trying to keep a band together and just never really being able to keep a band together, has a lot to do with the fact that I look at a band as a family, and I come from a broken family, and so my intention is to pull people together instead of people breaking apart. And unfortunately, the more you try to pull people together, the more you're actually breaking things. It's a weird, just a weird thing because of force. So I haven't really been able to create balanced, well balanced relationships and friendships, and being able to really keep them. Because usually what happens is my friends will become my band members, and then once they become my band members, if certain, I don't know, certain ethics and certain maybe morals, even like just certain things start to surface, and then I start going, well, hey, you know what? I don't even really want to be in business with this person because they're starting to show a side that I don't really like. And I've actually been guilty of that. I've done that to band members before. Like when I was going through my divorce, I was on an extreme. I was indulging in lots of debauchery because I was getting pretty resentful towards my partner, towards my wife at the time. Um, she's alpha personality, can be a little bit overbearing, to say the least. Um, so I started to, I was that person where I started to act out, and a lot of my band members were like, "Whoa, dude! Like, you need to rein it in." Well, and I didn't listen to them. So I understand that it can be really hard when you're bringing your friends into your band, and then you start to find out that, like, well, just because they're your friend doesn't mean that you can be, in business with them. So the reason why I wanted to put this message out today is that I think we get to a certain age where we're not really, for me personally, and I'm putting this out there because there's probably some people out there that feel this way. But for me, I'm not looking for friends. I'm looking for business allies. And the reason why I say business ally is because I believe that if in order to conduct yourself properly with people, if you're really doing it properly, you can do business. You can do good business with people, and everybody walks away win-win. And integrity is there, and everything. There's no problems. And I think that that's a reciprocal relationship. And I think what happens is the word friend for me, when I hear the word friend, it's like it's always some lopsided relationship. It's one-sided. It's one person upholding the moral code. It's the word friend introduces like a lot of room for like being complacent with each other and then letting each other get away with things because you like each other out of biasness. And you don't let each other do things like that when you're in business with them. If you're in business or doing a business endeavor, everybody has to act pretty integral on the individual level. So people's individual character starts to rise to the surface. And you won't really see that until you're in a business situation. So for me, I think that, business business allies can be your friends if you come in from the relationship that you are approaching this relationship initially as a business relationship. Because I actually think that there's more respect and there's more accountability and more responsibility in a business ally, being a business ally. And there isn't that in a friendship. I think friendships don't exercise reciprocity very well. I think friends try to get away with a lot. So for me, the word friend has a bit of a negative connotation. When I hear the word friend, I hear different words because I think the word friend has lost its meaning to me personally. And I don't know, I don't know if some of you feel this way, but I wanted to make this video because I just kind of feel like this was just on my heart. So the word friend to me, I tend to replace that with like words like usurper and sabotager and obstacle, hurdle, um, uh, a counterpart who is motivated by envy. Sometimes we have people around us that are smiling at us and telling us that they like us, but there's something about us that they envy. There's something about us that they want to be close to us because they're trying to absorb some of that. It's like some weird self motivated thing. It's not a reciprocal like, oh, I'm hanging out with you because well, maybe I want to be helpful or useful. There's so many things that I think we don't look at, characteristics of what makes a good friend. And I heard Jordan Peterson say that, if you have a good friend, if you can tell that person good news and if you can tell them bad news. And if you tell them good news, they don't act resentful or bitter or jealous and if you tell them bad news, they're not happy for you. They're not happy that bad things happen to you. And, you know, I don't like the word friend because I kind of feel like, I'm in my late 40s now, and I kind of feel like, they always say don't get, your friends, don't involve friends in your business, and don't do business with friends. And I totally get that because, friends can't say, what is it? So business allies can be your friends eventually, but friends usually can't be your business allies. So what does that tell you about the quality of your friendships? Okay. So I'm not looking for friends. What I told my roommate today is I'm looking for individuals that I consider to be of high quality, have integrity, and core values that that I share as well. And that isn't also somebody who will maybe tell you the uncomfortable truth. That's not just somebody who's nice to you. Because I think what people mistake the word friend for is like, well, this is just somebody who will always be nice to you no matter what. Like, no matter, even if you're displaying bad behavior, they'll still, they'll empathize with you. It's like, whatever, those are just weak enablers. There's just weak people who like are afraid to be alone, and they'll tolerate your bad behavior because they're like, I don't have anybody else. Like, this is what I got. That's just weak. So it's like, for me, I want, you know, I want business allies because I feel like there's more trust, and yeah, that's what I think. I think that there's more of an even playing field, maybe fundamentally, to build to build a relationship on trust. And if things start to get a little too lopsided, you can see it very clearly, and then you can kind of mention it, as a unemotional as business. And I think that's the other part of it is like, when you're dealing with friends, you can be overly emotional with your friends, and with business allies, you can't do that. So you have to be more even killed with your message, whether it be good or bad. And because, I mean, you don't want to lose the respect of your business allies, and you can't be overly emotional. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like, I feel like the word friend is just immature. Like, it kind of cracks me up. I know, I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't going to agree with this, but when I hear like adults, they start dating somebody new, and they start referring to each other as each other's boyfriend and girlfriend, I just laugh at that. I laugh at it because it's kind of like, how old are you? Boyfriend and girlfriend? Like, I just feel like some of these terms, when they're expressed from, you know, like 20-year-olds have friends. Like, when you start getting into your 30s, you might want to start surrounding yourself around with business allies, because I'm going to tell you something. You guys have had to have had some friends out there that like cock blocked you, and you still consider them a friend, and they cock blocked you. Like, everybody knows, everybody saw it. But what do? Oh, that's my buddy. So if you don't think friends cock block, you're delusional. The reason why you don't want to work with friends in a business situation is because you cannot afford to be cock blocked in a business situation, and there's money on the line. So I wanted to use myself as an example that the band that I have that I'm playing with right now, the guys that I have, the Jason and Colby, Jason on drums, Colby on bass, Aaron on keys and vocals, and Jeff on harmonica, and he does some backup vocals too, just on a couple tunes. Jeff's not like a total permanent fixture, but he kind of is. He kind of is at the same time because he does other things behind the scenes. So he's a multifaceted dude. Okay, and that's another thing. It's like how are people like being are people useful? Are they being useful? Are you being useful to them, and are they useful to you? That's reciprocity. So I am very lucky right now because I happen to be working with some newer guys that it's taken me about a year to feel them out. And before I started using car talk, my dog pulls up with dry kibble in the morning, and they just kind of walk by and pick at it all day. And what I was saying is that I'm very lucky right now to be playing with the guys I'm playing with because I have known these guys for um, almost three decades, and we haven't played music um, for the majority of that time together. Like we haven't even really seen each other much. We live in a small area here on the northwest coast, and but we're adults. These guys have families. We all have, I still have my manic artistic lifestyle, and so I kind of just stay away from people. Um, you know, I'm not I'm not at the age where I want to hang out aimlessly. There is no hanging out aimlessly. Okay, so what I want in my life and who I want to work with are individuals who are unified under some of the same motivating principles. I would say I don't think that is the I'd have to look up the definition of the word friend, but I don't think that. I just feel like that definition, what I just gave you, is much deeper than the word friend. So if you feel like you're not getting anywhere with your music, with your life, a lot of that is probably you. A lot of our unproductivity has to do with our cowardice and our unwillingness and our uselessness. Okay, like individually, we are all guilty of that. We could be way more useful than we are, and don't use that as a crutch. Just realize that other than your own deficiencies, if you feel like it's not really your own insufficiencies that are holding you back, and you just kind of figure, and you're starting to kind of like maybe I shouldn't hang out with this person. You should start maybe listening to that voice, because it really could be that you have shitty friends. You might need to reevaluate who you're hanging out with. You might have sabotagers and usurpers around you, and you have no idea because you're just, because you're a good person, you're an artist, right? And so you want to believe that people are innately good and inherently good. They're not. They're not. We're actually innately and inherently malevolent. So, you know, to get back to where I was going with that is that I am lucky enough that I'm working with these guys that, yes, I've known them for a long time, but the reason why we've gotten together is because there's a unified motivational factor at hand, and it's yes, we enjoy the music that we're creating together. And that's the other thing, is that I'm open enough as a creator that when I bring new players in, I actually want them to put their input in. I want us to create songs together so everybody feels like, they're contributing to their part, I don't want guys feeling like, oh, I'm writing their parts for them. Oh, here, just play these parts. Um, so there's some reciprocity right there. It's like I understand people have to have their own little, touch on things. And I want that. Um, but the point is that we've all come into this with this unifying kind of understanding, and there's a mutual respect. And these guys are also they're professional in their own lives, so they're good workers. Their jobs value them. They're like kind of, they're unexpendable when it comes to their jobs. So that says a lot about their character. That says a lot about their work ethic and their character, right? I mean, and I'm telling you, like, I'll come up with a harebrained scheme. I'll be like, oh, I want to do this. And I literally just start calling people. I'll call Jason, I'll call Colby first, make sure the rhythm section can do it, and then I kind of figure everything else out. Um, uh, but basically, every time I get like a harebrained scheme and I figure out a day, okay, well, I'm going to try to shoot for this date, I make the phone calls. Like, these guys don't fight me on anything. They're usually just like, yeah, I can do that. Yep, cool. Yep, no problem. Cool. Looking forward to it. It's like, so for example, uh, next week, this is the week of, gosh, what is it? Like I think it's the 15th today. So this is the week of, let's see, yeah, it's the 21st. So we're gonna do some filming on January 21st. Just that's next week, and we are gonna go into Astoria, into the town there early in the morning, and go around to a couple places in town there and do some filming. And in order to do that without, drawing too much attention to ourselves, and to be able to kind of get in and out, since we're going to be in public, we usually like to do those shoots early in the morning, and that drives a lot of people nuts. But it's just the easiest way for us to be able to control environment, and it's really important. And it's not a situation where we actually need people to be in the shot. So we don't need extras or anything like that. It's actually be better if there really weren't people standing around. So I basically just we're going to be filming basically the final scene for the movie on the 31st, which is 2 weeks from now. And I was like, well, I got like 2 weeks, and I don't want this time to kind of go by and not do anything. So yesterday I just was like, I wonder if I can, pull a film shoot together for next week early in the morning before the bass player goes to work. the The drummer literally is coming home the day before from Hawaii, and I'm pulling the harmonica player over here. He's going to have to crash over here the night before, so that way we can all drive in together just to meet. And literally, the shoot's going to take maybe 20 minutes. 20, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. I don't know. I think 20 minutes. So my point is that I pull these things together out of the imagination, and then I organize it, and these guys are like cooperative, and so I don't even know if they see this or not, but if you guys do see this, I love you and thank you. Because that kind of willingness is what greases the wheels. And maybe you guys are kind of thinking like, well, we're in a band where this is what everybody's trying to do, and everybody's cooperative, and it's like, good for you. That's really not the majority. The majority of us can't keep a band together. It's just the bottom line. The majority of us can't keep a band together because there's too many musicians that are individuals, and they won't kind of, put the individual shit aside to be part of this collective thing, so that way the collective thing can be as productive as possible. So when I hear the word friend, I hear roadblock, because ultimately, like, that's the experience I've had. People who I've tried to bring into my band as when we were friends first, and then they came into the band, it never works. And it doesn't even hurt. It barely works when we try to come at it from a business standpoint, because it turns out that I have a different way of running things. I want things to be ethically correct, and I don't want to work with people who are just corrupt in their minds and in their hearts. And I kind of feel like that's what a friend is. A friend is somebody that you accept with all their flaws. That's why we have friends, right? Because we need other people that are just as jacked up as us to reinforce our bullshit presuppositions and ideas, right? We need yes men and enablers for each other, because we don't like it when we're told when we're being wrong. And that's actually what a real friend is, So I don't like the word friend. And I think that you guys, if you're kind of wondering, like, man, like, I'm doing everything I can, but yet I just don't feel like I can get anywhere. There's a couple things. You might need to start thinking about it like, you know what? I don't need friends. What I need are motivated individuals that are coming from a place of unity, like myself, okay? And because we have some fundamental ideas that are similar and some core values that are similar, maybe we can use that as a place to have a foundation to build something. And then through that process of building, you realize, I like this person, and then you become friends. I think that's a better way of trying to make friends with people. I don't think we know how to make friends the right way. I think I've lost a lot of friends because I was really just doing it the wrong way. I was accepting people for a bunch of flaws that I actually didn't agree with. And then eventually you hit that, you hit that roadblock where it's like, oh yeah, dude, we're not really anything alike. In fact, I don't even like you. So, you guys just try to find some business allies. Just find business allies. Try to be more mature about this. I know that we're musicians and we're artists, and I know that maturity is a bad word amongst our community, but I don't know. For me, I don't like dealing with immature people. And you know, I don't date women that are like younger than me because I really don't like immature people. Um, I know women do mature, you know, more in ways, but um, you know, there's no way that I can try to date like, you know, maybe like an early 30s, somebody who's in their early 30s, because they're going to annoy me. They're going to absolutely annoy me. Um, so again, it's like, look for the qualities. Look for the good qualities and the good core values in people, and maybe you can start discerning between, you know, who's holding you back, and who can actually, who's more, maybe more aligned with you and your thinking. It's okay to find serious people out there, you guys. I know words like serious and mature and maturity, I know those are all fucking bad words. You know, I feel like those are all bad words today. You know, we got a bunch of 50-year-old Peter Pans running around. 40-year-old, what was it? I just watched Roadhouse. And he said 40-year-old adolescents. Too many 40-year-old adolescents running around. And that's true, man. You know, there's a lot of reasons why I don't get along with musicians and why I don't like a lot of musicians, because I find them to be immature, self-absorbed, and immature, and actually bad at business. And actually, no, they don't even have like, it's like they don't even have the drive to want to be good at business because they think business is a bad word. As they're trying to monetize their art, like I'm gonna try to monetize my art, but I'm gonna murder the high ideal at the same time. It's like you're trying to monetize your art, but you hate capitalism. You know, I think this false sense of virtue and this false virtue signaling of, well, you know, I play such beautiful music to a crowd of 3 because, well, that's virtuous. Start discerning how you're wasting your own time. You know, be your own friend. Tell yourself the hard truths. The hard truths are that nobody knows about you. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's seeking you out. And even if they did, they probably wouldn't like you. Okay? Those are the hard truths that we're all facing as musicians, you guys. So I'm going to be your friend right now. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the lowdown about navigating the music industry, like as if it was Friedrich Nietzsche himself giving you the hard, bad news. Because until you start realizing how hard and bad things really are, you're not going to know how to navigate that properly. If you want to keep acting like the terrain is harmless and is everybody wants to help you, it's the opposite. Everybody's a predator, you know. And I know you guys are probably like, well, you know, dude, you sound a little paranoid. It's like, I've just experienced human nature so much. I've experienced it over and over and over and over, you guys. I mean, I've had the number of players that I've had come through my doors. Okay. It's not a band, it looks like a brothel. Okay? It's terrible. Terrible how many players I've had. And I mean, gosh, if I looked at it from like just a 7 year period, just from the past 7 years, ugh, turnover is crazy. I can't think of I can't even think of a number that high. You know, and I know that I'm putting myself on the chopping block by saying that, because everybody's like, well, this just sounds like bad management, dude. It's like, well, it's bad management on my part because I will allow people to come in here and play, because I put myself in a situation where I have got a gig on the books, and then I'm desperate to, get players together. And so sometimes what I would do is I would actually book a gig, not even knowing, and then I would literally force the issue, because if I'm not forcing the issue, then people aren't getting together. They say that, a band that plays together stays together. So if I book a gig, that gives everybody a reason to get together to play. Otherwise, people don't get together. See, and I know a lot of you are probably laughing at that, like, oh, well, that's all our band does is practice. Okay, well, that's not the case for most working musicians. Most working musicians, they want the material sent to them, any charts, and then maybe one practice, but usually they're just ready to go. They're ready to go play the gig. And I know a lot of, I'm sure some of you guys are like, oh man, that's just crazy. It's like, yeah, kinda. But when you're dealing with guys that, professionals, they don't practice, man. They don't practice that much with the band. Unless you're like doing a big time touring thing. But if you're, somebody who's like an original artist or just a weekend warrior, and you're just, trying to get weekend gigs, you're probably swapping bass players and drummers out like crazy. Whoever can do it. Whoever can do it. Oh. So remember, those are your friends. Yeah. See, and then in order for you to get through a season of playing, your friends force the issue that you have to have even more friends to cover their asses when they're not there. So now you're just getting more and more friends in your life, which I would call almost like useless friends. Like how many more, do you want like one or two quality useful people in your life, or do you want like 50 useless idiots in your life? Useless to the degree that ultimately they don't care about you. The only reason why they're even playing that gig is because they like to play music and get paid for it. They don't care about you or your project or your music half the time. These musicians want to get paid for playing music, and they don't care what they're playing as long as they're getting paid to play music. So what is that? That's musicians valuing money on and how they make their money. See, the principle is, as long as I'm making money playing music, but the music can be meaningless. In my mind, I can devalue the music. I can say I actually don't care about this music. In fact, I don't really even get along with these guys really, but I'm here because I get to play music and make money doing it. So if that doesn't sound self-involved to you guys, then I'm sorry, man. You guys are just going to continue to put yourself around people who are going to use you. Okay? And that's all you're doing. You're setting yourself up like some sort of a beta. Like, I need you. I need you. Like, you got to reverse that shit. You got to reverse that shit. They're your way of thinking. So, getting back to why I even put this out in the first place, on this video and this topic is that friends, you don't need friends. Friends are what you need for comfort. What you need for success are band allies. So I think I'm going to stop there. I'm sure I put my foot in my mouth 100 times during this episode, but I don't care. I don't care. Because this is the whole point. The whole point of even doing this episode was that you can't care about hurting people's feelings. If you're saying something that's true, you can't care. You shouldn't care. If it's going to hurt, it's going to offend people, it's going to hurt people's feelings. So what? You did your job. You did a good thing. You hurt some feelings. You know, true virtue doesn't really appear to be virtuous most of the time. You know, it's like, who's willing to look bad in order to do good? Sometimes in order to do good, you got to look like a bad guy. You got to appear to be a bad guy, right? And the thing that appears to be good these days is, if you look behind the curtains, it's like really bad. So good ain't good anymore, and bad isn't really bad anymore, right? It's annoying, but the point is that it's like Marcus Aurelius said, true virtue doesn't appear to be virtuous, and usually what appears to be virtuous usually isn't virtuous. It's almost like a Lao Tzu kind of a thing, Tao Te Ching, rigidity breaks and softness bends, so there's that dichotomy. It's paradoxical, whatever. But look, you guys, I want to put out the hard truth, because, and this isn't about being cruel. Being intentionally cruel is one thing. Being harshly truthful that maybe comes off mean is a different thing. Okay? Like I said, I'm very lucky right now to have the people around that I have, because we like each other. We actually like each other, and we're really enjoying creating new music with each other. It's very new and it's fresh, and we're having a good time, and I get to walk away from my past, the past productions that I've done. It's just like anything, man. Like you create it, and then you move on to the next thing, and you don't let yourself get stagnant. And so I'm very lucky that I've got not just people that I've known for a long time, but these guys we're all professional minded to for the most part. And so we don't come in here treating each other like friends. We treat each other like business counterparts. And so I think that there's a more of a respectful reciprocity that's going on there. And these guys allow me to lead my band. They don't, they don't push back on me on things. Like they know that I'm a hyper creative, and they know that I've got that manic artistic side to me. And so like when I come up with an idea, like I'm trying to implement it usually like within days of coming up with an idea. Like I don't sit on my ideas anymore. If I have a good idea, man, I am like fucking making it happen. Okay. And I'm sure you guys are the same way. You know when you get that great idea and you're like, oh, I have to either write this down. I have to, start implementing this somehow. But I'm going to eventually shut up here, but I just really needed to say that, like, it is nice to have friends and to have people that you can talk to and people you can vent to and people that, for emotional support and people you can drink beer with, and not have serious conversations with, and all that stuff, that whole gambit there. But for me, I can't really see where somebody's intentions really lie until I get into a business situation with them. And then all of a sudden, all of their characteristics are like jumping out like crazy. So I tend to use my band as a machine to filter out shitty people and narcissistic people, because everybody gets put into the machine, and the ones that are being rejected, you got to stop and ask yourself, well, what's the common denominator? Why are these people being rejected? Why are these the rejects? And it's like, well, if you start digging, it becomes very apparent why. So the band is really kind of like this machine to, you know, we're willing to put basically anybody and everybody into the machine, but that all the machine does is it filters out, it filters out the junk. It filters out the shit we don't need. It filters out bad attitudes, bad personalities, uh, bad chemistry. It filters out all the unnecessary waste and people who are here for the wrong reasons, and people who are sucking off of you because you're the one with the intrinsic value and they're really just parasites. So and that's actually another pseudonym that I hear in my mind when I hear the word friend. I cringe. I cringe, which is ironic because I actually like the show Friends, which is weird. That show makes me laugh. I know it's stupid, but that show freaking makes me laugh. But I don't. It's funny. Like, yeah, I can deal with the show, but I don't like the word, because in my mind, and I guess this kind of makes sense. Like, the word parasite, that kind of sums up like the meaning of friend to me in a way, and it almost like explains the show Friends, because there's six of these people are grown-ups, and they still, treat their life like they live in a fucking dorm room, and they're very parasitical on each other. They don't really knock on each other's doors. They just walk in. You know, I mean, it's like they're all entitled to be in each other's space. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's, yeah. So I know that this was probably kind of not really the video you guys were expecting, but the only reason why we're in a position we're in right now, the reason why we've been so um, productive and being able to progress very quickly with new guys, is because everybody's working together. They allow me to run it, they allow me to lead. Okay. People aren't disrespectful to the process. People are pretty trusting. We all move in good faith with one another. So we are a little civilization. We're a tiny little society. And the only way that it's working is with integrity on every individual part. And we can't let things build up. If things bother us, then things have to be talked about and we can readjust or whatever. But there's openness. Like, we can talk to each other. We we don't act blocked off from one another. So, anyways, I want you guys to try to start developing more healthy relationships. If you really do, if you really start feeling like, you know what, I just kind of like want to kind of get away from the group of people that I tend to kind of hang out with, because, I'm not trying to judge my friends, but something inside me tells me that I'm hanging out with losers. Yeah, you might want to listen to that voice, because you probably are hanging out with losers. And I know, oh, Jesse's so judgmental. It's like, dude, you guys aren't judgmental enough. It's because you don't want to discern. You don't want to separate the wheat from the chaff. Okay? Because it's hard. Because it's hard to tell people, hey, you're kind of a fucking loser. And when you come around me, you kind of make my life more like loserdom. You got to be able to discern who's helpful and who's useful to you. And not like a tyrant, piece of shit, narcissist, psychopath that you're parasitic on others. You have to reciprocate. You have to be useful and helpful to others. Okay? So there it is. If you want to know if you're surrounded by friends, are you being useful? Are they being useful? Are you being helpful? And are they being helpful? So there you go, guys. And, again, I personally don't like the word friend. I use the term business ally these days, because I need people to understand that when they're getting involved with me, that they're not getting involved with me because of friendship. That's everything that I do has reason and purpose, and if they're involved with me, it's because we're on the same fundamental reason and purpose. We have the same goal and aim. And then, through that process, if we become friends, great. That's great, man. Great. So, okay. Love you guys. I'm out.